Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Dan the Movie Man with another big show for you today. On August 29th, 2016, we unfortunately lost a great legend, a childhood hero, and an icon to cinema all around the U.S. That was Gene Wilder. Gene Wilder, unfortunately, not too long ago, passed away due to Alzheimer's, and I just wanted to take this time to just give a little tribute to him, just say how much of a great guy he is, some of his great work, and to have me on the show today is my guest, Paul Michaels. Thank you for coming on to the show.
Yeah, no problem.
This was quite a surprise for us. I mean,
yeah, I mean, it wasn't. He was up there. He lived a very long life. But yeah, I mean, it sucks because just I think he meant a lot to people, and I mean, he meant a lot to me. I always enjoyed his films growing up, and
which is what I wanted to talk about. Some great films of his that we would definitely recommend to anyone who is new to his work. One that I wanted to talk about first off is The Producers, the original one. He was absolutely fantastic in that, and I couldn't see anybody else playing that role that he's done. Even, in fact, there's a lot of roles he's done where I don't think anybody else could pull out. They've tried, but
yeah, I
really.
mean, yeah, I mean, I spent a long time since I've seen The Producers, but I know a lot of the good jokes from that movie. But yeah, Gene Wilder, he brought something special to his characters. I mean, even you can try and recapture the magic too, like Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick did, but it's still different. It's not the same. It's a different. I mean, granted, it should be different.
No disrespect to
them,
Lane or
no, they're
Matthew
very
Broderick.
talented.
It's just the first one for me was always Gene Wilder. That's who I always saw. The other one, a lot of people may not know, he was in the film Bonnie and Clyde.
He is, yeah. No, I saw that recently in film class about a couple years ago, and yeah, he's a very small role, but it's a very funny role, and it's funny too because
and he was a very funny guy as well.
No, he is. I think he was a naturally funny guy, and I think that you can definitely see that shines through on the camera. Sometimes it doesn't with some people, but for him, I think it definitely did. But yeah, Bonnie and Clyde, a lot of their interactions with a lot of people off of robberies are very intense for the most part, and with him, there is an intensity, but you want him to be okay, It's like, and they get through it. He's fine, but it's funny to watch the process with all the actors and stuff.
I would say probably the Gene Wilder movie, in my opinion, one of the first movies I ever saw as a kid was Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Every time I always see him on screen, I always think to myself, that is Willy Wonka.
Yeah,
and he made the character his own. Actually, fun thing, he said in an interview where the scene where he's walking and with the cane and everyone's silent. It was actually, and then he does the somersault. That was actually his idea that he wanted to do, and he said, "I want to do this role. However, I want to do this part. If I get the role, I want to do this right here."
Yeah, well, it was smart because he knew, both as a film and as a character, him playing as like this old man almost, and then doing a flip and being absolutely fine. For the kids and almost anybody watching, they wouldn't know if he was lying or not with everything that he says in the film. You don't know if he's playing a joke or not, in a sense.
And that was always his charm.
He
always had charm.
Well, the charm of the character, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he does such a good job with it too, because it's still even somewhat different from the book, but at the same time, it's so, like it's kind of hard to top. And I mean, granted, I don't think Johnny Depp had the right idea going in trying to emulate what I think was Michael Jackson. But honestly, either way, his performance is very iconic. It's very hard to top.
Exactly. Another one of his films, the classic Young Frankenstein, which is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. And I watched the blooper reel for this, and you can tell that they had so much fun working with him.
Oh, they did.
That he was pretty much the life of the party.
No, they had a great time making that movie, and it was funny too because it wasn't Mel Brooks' idea. It was Gene's. They were doing Blazing Saddles, And then Gene came up to him with the idea of wanting to write a movie about this version of Frankenstein, like a
how
later.
do we make it more humor? Like,
Yeah, but this whole idea of it being like a second or third generation Frankenstein that didn't want to be, in the family business anymore, or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was just this joke that kind of they just ran with it. And it's one of the most it's a comedic masterpiece, and it's really hard to pull those off. And
speaking of comedic masterpieces, Blazing Saddles, easily one of the funniest movies I've ever seen.
People talk about
People quote that movie still.
No, I mean hopefully the lines that aren't extremely intense, but
lines that we cannot say on TV.
But see, that's what's so great. It's funny too, because Mel Brooks was talking about that even recently, even before Gene Wilder passed away, and he was saying because a lot of people say it today, and they agree. Blazing Saddles could not be made today.
No, it could not.
No, they could not make it today. But even back then, they couldn't have made it because the first time they did a private screening of it, one of the producers, he had one of those girlfriends with him. I guess this was Mel Brooks saying this, that he had one of these girlfriends, but they didn't like the movie, and so he made all these notes, what to change in the film, and he gave it to Mel Brooks, and Mel Brooks read it. He's like, oh yeah, thanks. And then the minute he walked away, he crumbled up and threw it in the garbage, and then they made the movie anyway. And the movie was a huge success, so no one cared,
And yeah, that's, jeez. There was another film I wanted to. Oh yeah, Silver Streak with him and Richard Pryor.
I haven't seen that in so long. But
their chemistry in that is just unbelievable. The one scene that I will always remember when they're first in prison, and he's just telling them, "Man, you gotta walk bad, you gotta look good," and you just see him bouncing up and down. It's just his hair going around. Like, you can tell that he was definitely someone who you wanted to be around and you wanted to be friends with, and he seemed like a very easygoing.
He was a good-natured guy. I feel bad that I haven't seen half of the Richard Pryor, Gene Wilder movies. I've seen only a few, but the funny thing about them too is that they were not. I mean, they were good to each other, but they weren't really like real big friends off camera. They didn't really associate too much with each other.
That's the thing. Sometimes opposites attract.
Yeah, but on camera they just clicked. They just worked. Somehow, some way they had the same kind of like comedic rhythm or timing about them, and it just really worked out really well.
And that's movie magic right there.
Yeah.
There were a few other films out of the Frisco Kid, Stir Crazy, Hanky Panky, The Woman in Red.
The Woman in Red is one I recommend to anyone to watch that, because that movie, I snuck that movie when I was a kid, because I guess Kelly LeBrock gets a little naked towards the end of it, which is fine. This is like 1984 Kelly LeBrock.
Yeah.
And that is a film that still holds up pretty well. I mean, the comedy in it is very good. And this is when he was still married to Gilda Radner, unfortunately, before she passed.
Yeah.
And she plays a very small part in it, but it's very, very funny too. And that's a comedy I recommend. People don't talk about that movie enough. Definitely go see The Woman in Red. That's a good movie.
Yeah, there were also other ones like See No Evil, Hear No Evil,
Yeah.
Funny About Love, Another You, and then afterwards he retired. And an interesting story I wanted to mention about Gene Wilder was that there's a film coming out in 2 years called Ready Player One, which I'm currently reading right now, and you finished reading.
Oh, I loved it. It was a great book.
And Spielberg is going to be directing it with Mark Rylance and Ty Simpkins. No, that's, oh my God, I'm the kid from Mud. He was Cyclops in.
Yeah, he was Cyclops in the new X-Men Apocalypse. He's going to be the main character.
Yes.
Which I think is fine.
And his original plan, the character that Mark Rylance was playing is this Willy Wonka type of character.
Yeah.
Like, the premise of the book is supposed to be a combination between Willy Wonka and The Matrix. And his original plan, he wanted Gene Wilder to come out of retirement
To play the role.
yeah, as like a callback to Willy Wonka, and that would have blown everybody's minds. But I guess he denied it, and but
he's
instead
also-
it went to Mark Rylance, who I think is a brilliant actor, and I think he'll do a good job.
I didn't know that about, but yeah, people forget though too is that before he died, he really was sick. Like he wasn't up to par. Like I think he was suffering from Alzheimer's at the time too. So
Yeah,
I don't know if he could have played it the way that they would have been, you know, he would have been satisfied with, or they would have been satisfied with.
Are there any last words that you'd like to say about him?
I would just say that I love Gene Wilder personally as far as his work's concerned. And I think more than anything, his devotion to the craft as well as his personality and his persona will outlive even his films. I mean, his films will still be seen decades from now, or even centuries, who knows. But he himself, when you watch him act, you can tell he comes to work. He brings not only his character, but he brings himself.
And he would always give 110%.
At least that's how I saw it, yeah.
A few last things I wanted to say. We are definitely going to miss him. He taught us that we are the music makers and we are the dreamers of dreams. Rest in peace, Gene Wilder. For now, we hope that you are in a world of pure imagination. Goodbye, everyone.